Hi everybody. It's hard to believe that we're just 2 weeks into lockdown and I don't know how you're coping with it. 2 weeks has been okay. I tend to be a doer rather than a thinker. So I've been getting on with the jobs and I've been quite enjoying having a list of jobs and working my way through them. But one of the things that I've resolved to do during this time is to read and pray more, because I tend to get carried away with the doing and yeah. So I've got several books upstairs that I hadn't picked up before, and one of them that I've just started to read is by Max Lucado, and it's called When God Whispers Your Name. And really I was struck by these words. It's wise to look in the mirror before you peek out of the window. We, even in this time, tend to get into a blame culture. Jill and I have been amazed at how the media have been particularly negative. Why aren't we tackling it like the Germans are? Why are we running out of ventilators? Why didn't we start earlier? And so on and so on. It's the problem's out there, and sometimes the problem's not out there, and we can do something inside. I worked for Boots for 30 years, and I can remember being called into the production director's office once with a team of other people because there was a problem, and the director started the meeting with, I'm not in a position to start apportioning blame. I just want to know whose fault it is. He actually said whose bleep fault it is, so we knew what he was talking about. But Boots wasn't a blame culture, but he wanted to get to the bottom of it. And pharmaceuticals is one of the three most regulated industries, along with nuclear and aviation. Everything's got to be absolutely right. But yeah, sometimes we have to look inside. So I was struck by that. What piqued my attention, I like to play golf, and some of the best conversations that I've had with people have been driving the Archer's van or playing around a golf. I think blokes in particular like to be doing something while they're talking, but that's just my experience. But so when I read this, I'm going to read portions of this book, and particularly three things that struck me. But as a little introduction, let me just start. So he says, reminds me of the golfer about to hit his first shot on the first hole. He swung and missed the ball, swung again and missed, swung a third time and hit nothing but air. In frustration, he looked at his golfing partners and said, "Man, this is a tough course." Now, he may have been right. The course may have been tough, but that wasn't the problem. You may be right as well. Your circumstances may be challenging, and they are, aren't they? But blaming them is not the solution, nor is neglecting them. Heaven knows you don't silence life's alarm bells, by pretending that they aren't screaming. But heaven also knows it's wise to look in the mirror before you peek out of the window. And he gives us three verses to consider, and the first comes from Psalm 51, verse 10. Consider the prayer of David, create in me a new heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. And then Paul in Romans 12:2 in the Message version, fix your attention on God, you'll be changed from the inside out. And then Jesus in John 3:3, I tell you the truth, unless one is born again, he cannot be in God's kingdom. So real change, says Max Lucado, is an inside job. And he gives us three practical exercises to put this truth into practice. So the next time alarms go off in your world, COVID-19, worry, whatever it might be, the challenge for me and for you is to ask yourself these three questions. And the first is there any unconfessed sin in my life? David in Psalm 32 says, "There was a time when I wouldn't admit what a sinner I was, but my dishonesty made me miserable and filled my days with frustration. My strength evaporated like water on a sunny day until I finally admitted all my sins to you and stopped trying to hide them." That's the Living Bible version of Psalm 32, verses 3 to 5. Confession is telling God you did the thing that he already saw you do. He doesn't need to hear it as much as you need to say it. Whether it's too small to mention or too big to be forgiven isn't yours to decide. Your task is to be honest. Secondly, are there any unresolved conflicts in my world? If you enter a place, this is Matthew 5:23 to 24, and it's reading from the Message version. If you enter a place of worship and about to make an offering, suddenly remember a grudge that a friend has against you, abandon your offering, leave immediately, go to this friend and make things right. Then and only then come back and work things out with God. And Max Lucado said, as far as he knows, this is the only time God tells you to slip out of church early. Apparently God would rather have you give your olive branch than your tithe. That's good. And the third thing to ponder is, are there any unsurrendered worries in your heart? And as we know in 1 Peter 5 and verse 7, it says, "Give all your worries to him because he cares for you." The German word for worry means to strangle. The Greek word means to divide the mind. Both are accurate. Worry is a noose on your neck and a distraction of your mind, neither of which is befitting for joy. Alarms serve a purpose. They signal a problem. Sometimes the problem is out there, but more often it's in here. So before you peek outside, take a look inside. Those three things again. Is there any unconfessed sin in my life? Are there any unresolved conflicts in my world? Are there any unsurrendered worries in my heart? Thanks for listening.